Well, not quite the crowd we were expecting tonight. We were hoping for a lot. We were hoping this place was a little bit more packed, a little more excitement, but hopefully this is just the beginning of some. Maybe you guys that are here will pass some of this excitement on, and we'll have another one of these at some point down the road. We hope maybe multiple of these, just to kind of inform everybody about what's been going on with this. You've heard rumors about the school, and we're going to kind of give you some how we got here a little bit and where we're headed, and kind of go from there. So you can go to the next slide. This is you on the survey.
So some of you may have participated in this survey, hopefully, a couple months ago. We inquired with community members on whether they wanted to see education here in the Lower Valley. Overwhelmingly, yes. We surveyed between Alpine and Thane. This opportunity gives us some flexibility in enrollment, which is great.
I'm going to tell the results. So the first survey question was, would you have your elementary children at the school closest to your home, benefit your family in a positive way? If you could have your kids in a school closer to home, would that benefit you in a positive way? And the majority said yes. The next one, I can say this, would you support converting Thane and Edna to K through 6?
Yeah, overwhelmingly, yes. Unfortunately, after working with our local district over the last year and a half, we've determined that that route is not going to be fruitful for families in Alpine for at least a decade. So we also asked if anyone would be interested in a charter school. Almost 60% said yes, with another 30% needing more information. So that's what we're hoping to start tonight, is to provide additional information on charter schools and how this is kind of the only viable option for people in Alpine.
So basically, a lot of mine's on. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding what is a charter school, and it is a public school paid for by public taxpayer dollars the same way as our district schools. It's an independent from like Lincoln County District Number 2. It would be just a standalone board, basically less restrictive. It can be more of its own entity, more tailored to what we want for our community. It's a school choice. It's an option for choice. So kids that live in Alpine can still choose to go to the others. They're not forced to go to the school. Kids in Afton are not forced to not attend this school. So it's open to whoever wants to come.
Most importantly, the tax dollars that you pay follow your child. So if you choose to enroll your child in a charter school here in Alpine, that supports your child tax dollars support this school as opposed to supporting the school in Afton. So I'm Kelly Shackelford. I was the chairperson of the appointed Alpine Public Education Committee. So it was our role, there were 5 of us involved, to explore all options for education for our children. We kind of took a 2-pronged approach and tried to work within our district to get some relief for younger children in Alpine, primarily K through 6. Our main purpose with the district was to try to convert Thane and Etna to a K-6 model to have our kids closer to Alpine. As I kind of touched on, we determined the school board, the superintendent are not supportive of any relief for Lower Valley children. So the second option was to explore the charter route. Previously, there was a moratorium on charter schools in the state of Wyoming, and the state government decided that no charter schools would be authorized until 2026. Through some small miracles and the work of our local representatives, including Andrew Byron and Dan Dockstetter, they managed to pass a bill in this last legislative session that authorizes a charter school for Western Wyoming, which is huge for us because our competition is very slim. We're competing only with other towns that have their proverbial ducks in a row in Western Wyoming, as opposed opposed to competing with the whole state. So once it was determined that charter was going to be the viable route, we started exploring options for what school we wanted to see here, and that's how we found American Preparatory Academy. Carolyn Jarrett started American Preparatory Academy in Utah and has had immense success. Dave, myself, and a few other residents were able to go to Salt Lake and tour her school there, and we were pretty blown away. So we think that this is the best route possible to give our kids the same chance at a quality education close to home and help build our community.
Definitely.
So Carolyn, do you want to come up and talk about your school a little bit? Thanks so much.
You bet.
Well, good, Carolyn Charette, happy to see you and meet you. We're all spread out, okay? With me today, I have some of my team, and you guys will just stand while I call you. So this is Cindy Lawrence. She's an administrator with us, and Cody O'Brien, who's been a teacher for many years, and then an administrator for many years, and Craig Hollinger, who's a teacher with us and in our high school. Teaches AP, what did you, psychology, philosophy, is that it? Those two?
Medical science.
Oh, and medical science, that's right, that is a really interesting background. So, we're really grateful they were willing to jump in the car today and drive up to Alpine from Salt Lake. We'll be driving back tonight, we're enjoying the beautiful scenery on the way in, it's so gorgeous here. And you guys, I said a few of you came to my school, it was like the biggest tour we've had, I think there were 12 of you or more, right? It was like big group that came a few months ago, and the first person I met actually from Wyoming came down was Senator Driscoll in January, and he's a friend of one of our consultants at our school, and he just invited him to come and see the school, and our consultant had, and it was my first kind of taste about learning about education in Wyoming. I asked him a bunch of questions and he talked to me about what it's like here, because it's so rural and everything's so far away. But I had no idea that you guys were traveling the miles to travel to get your kids to school every day. It's really shocking to those of us who've never had. I mean, I usually have the best story because before I started APA, I started a charter school in 1996 in Colorado, and I was not happy with the results of that school. And I started doing some more intense research, and I found some really good charter schools, and so I went and looked at them. I was in Colorado, and the one that I liked the very best, that was amazing, huge scores, huge amazing happiness in their school, so like happiness and high scores, I was really excited when I went and visited. It was 40 miles from my house, and so they offered me a job as a paraeducator. I'm actually a nurse, I'm not in education, but I was desperate to get my 4 little guys into a really good school. So we drove 40 miles each way, every day for the year of 2000 to 1999 to 2000, I think. And so I get the long driving thing a little bit, but it was 1 year. That was it for me. And then we ended up moving to Utah. And so I decided we would open, my sister, my brother, and I were really needing a school. We have lots of children. I have 7, my sister has 8, my brother has 6. We had between us way too many children to have to pay for private school, but the schools that we had the options of going to were not acceptable. And since I had already started a charter school before, plus I had spent a year at one of the very best charter schools ever. It's called Cheyenne Mountain Charter Academy, now it's called Vanguard Academy in Colorado Springs. We decided to open American Preparatory Academy, and so it was in 2003 that we got our first school open. So this is our 21st now, we just had our 20th anniversary. So they've been doing this a really long time, I guess, for some of you who are young. It seems like a really long time, but it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And just a picture of some of our kids, and we see those big smiling faces. Our goal is to do what's best for kids and to have bursts of joy every day. Parents need to have a burst of joy when they drop their children off, knowing how well they'll be treated and how happy they'll be and how smart they'll be when they get done. Students need to have bursts of joy all day long while they're learning, not every minute. Sometimes things are hard and we have to work hard, but they should feel joy in learning, and teachers need to love their jobs enough that they make it wonderful for kids to be in school. So that's kind of our big over vision, and that's what I had found at Cheyenne Mountain, and I learned all the ways that they made that happen, and so we brought that into American Prep and added a few additional things. So next slide. This kind of is a big moment. Take a breath. This is a philosophy moment. We're a public school. We take this very seriously as a public trust. So this is called the Trust of Public Education, and it's just a couple slides that explain how we feel about our job as educators with the public trust. We believe a public school's central mission is twofold: to ensure that each student achieves maximum academic proficiency, and to ensure that each student develops a virtuous character and motivation for productive citizenry. Keep going. That thereby, students become effective citizens of a free, self-governing nation and possess the intelligence, skills, and desire to dedicate a portion of their lives to changing the world for the better. We think that's the big picture. Why we receive, the next slide please, the trust of the citizens of our nation, expressed in their hard-earned tax dollars flowing to our public schools. That trust must be maintained through strict accountability to those two objectives: helping kids become smart and helping them become very good. Smart and good go together. Smart and not good isn't so good, right? We need both. So the trust must be maintained through accountability to those objectives and repaid by the students who benefit from that public trust. How do the students pay for this? They pay through their diligence, their hard work, their commitment to community and self-government. So we help the students understand what their job is too, that they're sitting in beautiful climate-controlled buildings with wonderful teachers and materials and sports and fun things to do. Why? Well, because we need them to learn to be good and smart, and they need to be diligent, and they need to learn to work hard, and be committed to their community. Otherwise, why do we have tax dollars paying for education if it doesn't improve our community and uphold our democratic republic over time? That's the goal, is that they can uphold our wonderful nation and make sure we don't lose our freedoms. So that's why we're called American Preparatory Academy, because we believe that we need to prepare students to be good citizens in the country in which they live, which is America. So we're preparing them for that. So how do we do it? So we have a model that I'm going to try to explain a little bit to you tonight. I'm going to start with two really basic things. There's a dividing line kind of in schools. Maybe you have never thought of it this way, but there's two things we're doing. We're learning skills like reading and math and writing and interpersonal skills, and we are learning content. We're learning things. We're learning stuff. We're learning about Abraham Lincoln and Harriet Tubman and the Civil War. We're learning about igneous rocks and sedimentary. We're learning about photosynthesis. We're learning stuff. So this is the content, the stuff. And then these are the skills. Both are very important, but I believe they need to be taught very differently. And that is because we all know we learn skills at different rates. Just like some of you can dribble basketball and shoot it into that hoop over there, you have a skill to do that. Others don't. It takes longer and it's harder. Some of you may play the violin or something and you practice and practice and practice, and it takes you... Oh, Blake's a violinist. Blake's kind of a one-rep learner, like very low repetition learner. So, I'm sorry, that's my son Blake. I forgot to introduce him. He helps with lots of different things at APA. But he's a musician, that's what his career is. And so when he is playing the violin, he can get things in one repetition. He has two other brothers who play violin. They're not that low repetition learner. So when they're learning to play, they need to know how many repetitions it takes for them to achieve mastery. So they'll know how many times to practice to get ready for a performance, right? Skills are very different. Content isn't that. If we wanted to have a conversation about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad with some second graders, it doesn't really matter what their skills are for reading, does it? Or for writing. We are learning, we're memorizing. Memorizing is a skill as well. We're discussing, we're connecting with logic, and bringing this toward critical thinking. Well, you have to have a good base of content knowledge in order to critically think, But you also have to have skills in order to be a successful student. Skills at memory, skills at reading, skills at writing, skills at math. So we do it in we look at this in two ways. I mean, we have two segments of our school, I would say. Direct instruction is how we teach skills. It's a methodology. It's where we're saying to the students, you're going to see on the video in just a second, we're saying, today we are going to learn about photosynthesis. Oh wow, that's a crazy word, photosynthesis. Everybody, can you say that with me? Get ready? You guys are helping me. Photosynthesis, good job. Let's say it one more time, get ready? Photosynthesis. Does anybody have any idea about what that might be? And so then we start talking about photo and Latin, the kids know this, they're like, it must be light, yes, it's light, okay, we're gonna say it again. A couple seconds later, what's the word we're talking about today, everybody get ready? Photosynthesis. We're gonna keep talking a little bit more about it, probably right on the board so they see it, we're gonna say it again. By the time we get to the actual definition, the teacher will probably have said, or you will have said, that word 7 times, because that's a memory sticker, and we want them to know the word, what it feels like, what it sounds like. That way, all the students, no matter what kind of learners they are, they all they know it, they say it, they understand the word. It's not like they just say it one time, the teacher does all the talking. At our school, the students do a ton of talking. It's very engaging. That's probably one of the things people see most, is that the kids are 100% engaged, that's our standard, and they're having fun. So I'm going to show you a video now, and you'll kind of see some direct instruction in this video, and then we'll talk more about it afterward.
A group of parents got together and we decided to start a school for our kids, and American Preparatory Academy was born. Their students are seeing, and they tell their friends, and it just keeps growing. And in the Salt Lake Valley now, we have over 11,000 students on our wait list. We have 3 currently running campuses, and we have a couple of schools in the planning stages, and we just can't seem to keep up with the demand. Promoting legal and regulatory reforms in Utah that allow charter schools the freedom to innovate and implement what's best for students' academic achievement.
And in this doing great use picture language, just like H.B. Simpsons. What do you call that type of writing? Everyone get ready. Count 1, 2, 10 times. How many times are we going to count ready? 10.
Kids really want to learn, and they really want to be smart. As they become confident and find success in the fundamental skills, then they can move on to express their knowledge and master higher level skills. Preparatory Academy, we felt our responsibility to ensure academic achievement for every student.
So you can see lots of energy, lots of moving around. We do what's called dancing vocabulary. We dance to different words. It's just a lot of fun in our school. But by doing it that way, the kids come to mastery on their own. Like they actually learn what they need to learn instead of the teacher just telling and then the students trying to remember. We help them learn how to remember through these different strategies. Next slide. So we are called a classical school because we honor the levels of what's called the trivium. I won't go into this too much, but the grammar, logic, and rhetoric phases of learning. So if you think about grammar phase being something very, you're learning the what of something, like the alphabet. You're learning what sounds the letters make. That would be grammar phase learning. Logic phase is where you're starting to put things together in meaning, right? Making words, being able to read words, whatever. Rhetoric phase would be comprehension, then being able to comprehend. In the bigger picture, you have learning the information, you have putting together the information you have. In the logic phase, grammar phase is learning information, putting it together in the logic phase. And the rhetoric phase is learning to defend your logical conclusions through writing and speaking. So talking about things, making connections, and defending it. So that's what a classical school does. It works through all three levels of learning with the students and teaches the teachers how to honor those phases of learning. We also study classical literature, so maybe some of you are familiar with the idea of classical, books. So our students are reading classical literature in their grade levels and classes. Things like Pollyanna and Bill Dale are things that teach virtues and are well written. Those are kind of the hallmarks of classical literature. And that's why it's classical literature on the top. The goal of classical education is always human flourishing, is that people will learn enough and be able to learn enough that they will then live lives of flourishing, whatever they choose them to be. And those are our two pillars, the academics and the virtuous character. Next slide. Our classical education model, again, the goal is human flourishing, and we use what's called the core knowledge sequence by E.D. Hirsch. Back in the I think it was 1980, you can look it up. He wrote a book called Cultural Literacy. It's there on your left, and it says what every American should know, and underneath that is too small, but it says 5,000 things. What does it say? Essential names, places, dates, and concepts. 5,000. So he wrote this book, and it was meant for people in America and for people abroad who are going to come to America to be able to have conversations, be part of what's called the great conversation in classical world. We all want to be able to talk about things. Well, there's certain things you just need to be able to know and talk about. Like, if you don't know who Shakespeare is, then you don't know a lot about him, but you should know the name, and you should kind of know where he's from and maybe what part of time of the world he lived in. And maybe one of the phrases is to be or not to be is in his book. And maybe if you knew that, that would be something you would have a conversation, or someone might refer to it, and if you didn't know that, you wouldn't feel like part of the conversation. So these 5,000 things are, you should know who Abraham Lincoln is, probably what the Emancipation Proclamation is, you should know these things. Well, he had a group of teachers. This book was so popular, it was a bestseller. He and some teachers said, let's just put the 5,000 things into school curriculum. So they met together and they created books called What Your Kindergartners Know, What Your First Graders Know, What Your Second Graders Know, What Your Third Graders. And all those things in all the subjects, history, science, literature, music, art, poetry, all mathematics, all of those things are in the core knowledge sequence. Not to be confused with Common Core, which is a federal mandate on education. The core knowledge sequence, you can go to the coreknowledgefoundation.org online, and you can look at all of their curriculum for free. Any grade, you can look at any subject, any lesson. It's really awesome. So we've been using this curriculum since we opened, and parents buy these books and have them at home, and we have the books at school, and that way students and the parents can know, oh, you're studying Emancipation Proclamation right now. Let's talk about that. Let's read it during dinner. It's in our book right here on page 25, there's an excerpt or whatever. So it connects the learning with the whole family, which is really exciting. So the literature it has rich vocabulary that teaches students important life lessons and virtues vicariously. So that's really the classical literature piece. We don't need to learn what it feels like to steal something if we read in a book what it feels like for that character to have stolen something. And so sometimes in life, it's really better to learn vicariously than to learn first person. And people who read a lot of classical books tend to be able to learn vicariously, which is helpful. We study history, not social studies, using primary sources. So we study the speeches, we study the documents of this country, we study the writings of people instead of just talking about them. We study science using hands-on experiences to foster critical thinking and communication skills. We study music, art, and that's all part of a classical education. Let's go to the next slide. The second piece I told you about is skills. So how are our kids going to learn to read? This is what most parents are worried about and think about a lot. Is my child learning to read and to do math and to write? Like, can they do this? So at our school, the goal is to teach academic skills to mastery, every student to mastery. So the way we do that is we divide the students into learning levels instead of grade levels for reading and math only. They still have a grade level class. They come to school and go to their third grade class. But if they come at 8 o'clock, maybe at 8:30, they're going to go to their skills level class. We call them intensive groups. And we're assessing them and putting them into this group so they can be with only students who are at their skill level. It's really more motivating to kids and to you and me to be learning something alongside someone else is learning something, not really learning something alongside people who are way ahead of us. It's really discouraging to children to be sitting in the class learning to read and people are reading 2 grade levels above them. The motivation is just kind of really hard. Same thing on the other side. If you're a really good reader and you want to be reading a chapter book and you have to sit there and listen to kids sound out words, it's excruciating, painful. And so we want to make sure that our kids are learning the skills in groups with students who are like them. So what we do is we assess them all, we divide them into groups, and at 8:30, all the K through 3 students go to reading group at the same time, and we just call it reading group. There's no names, there's no levels, there's no numbers, nothing. Everyone just goes to reading group. And then they go back to class, and then the 4 through 6 kids go. Or we can divide it differently in a small school like this. It just depends. We may do it K through 4 and 5 through 8. Bands. Just depends on how many kids we have coming in. Some of those kids are just so you'll have a 4th grader who struggles with dyslexia, who is still a really decoding, dyslexic-focused reading group. And then you can have 4th graders who are reading 8th grade level novels and discussing things this way without anyone feeling bad or better than or less than, right? So everyone just goes through reading, learns their skills, comes back to the class. Well, then they have a lot of opportunities to read together anyway, because they're reading literature as a class that the teacher knows the skills levels of the kids. And we do this for reading, but then we do it for math as well. So everyone's tested, assessed, and then put into their math groups. So every year, since we've done this now for 21 years, I can tell you that we have a certain number of kids in a 3-round school, meaning 3 classes per grade, which is bigger than this would be, but like in a 3-round school where you have about 100 kids, 90 to 100 kids in the grade, you will have 4 or 5 kids who can be at essentially a 6th grade math level. It's crazy, but it's very consistent. And if those kids are allowed to do math at their level, so they're in grade level 6, 5 math in 3rd grade, if they're able to keep going, they'll be finished with high school math, finish their calculus at then in grade 10, and be needing to do college math, 11th and 12th grade, which, and I'm not talking about college unit math, I'm talking about linear algebra, calculus 3, things like that. Well, the cool thing about us knowing that now is that tells you that there's like 3 to 5% of our population who should be going on that track. Those become our engineers, those become the people in this country that move the needle in a big way, because they have these skills that are, who knows, God-given, they're just amazing. But what's happening in our public schools right now, I'm not going to get my soapbox, you guys raise your hand if I get too much on the soapbox. What's happening is because Schools don't let kids learn at their pace in skills. They burn out with boredom. Those kids who are like fast flyers, they really want to be learning. They hate school so bad by the time they're in 5th and 6th grade because they're bored that they don't end up going to college to become engineers. They just don't. And we're having to import a lot of people from other countries to do engineering work for us. That's crazy. But there's a couple, that's one reason, math. Stopping kids from doing math is one reason. Another is we uniformly identify kids who struggle with reading skill in this country. We uniformly identify them as learning disabled, which is really a disservice because all we know, what we do know about dyslexia is that it is a different way of processing in the brain. You can look on PET scans and you can see that when someone has dyslexia, the way that the neural pathway that has to run for them to do a sound-symbol correlation is multiple times what it is for people who don't. Ours can be immediate, theirs is like delayed. It takes this time. And yet, if we label them as special needs and put them in special education, they get the message they're not smart. The truth is, people who have that kind of brain have certain kinds of smarts that are very unique. Not always, but many, many times. Meaning they have special spatial gifts. They can also have mathematic gifts. So in our school, because we're dividing these groups into reading and math, I have kids who are super high flyers in math who are dyslexic, who never heard the word special needs in their life because I have 2 brothers right now who are finished college. I did the welcome PhD programs. One of their parents helped us open our first school because they knew they were getting labeled at their public school as learning disabled because they're dyslexic, but their math was unbelievable. And so luckily we never labeled them. By high school they were doing college projects up at the university. And so we're just doing some things I think wrong by labeling kids who have skills challenges instead of just having a structure that allows them to learn their skills. Everybody learns, and it's so fun, and nobody has to feel bad about where they're at because they're learning with their friends who are at the same level. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, 300 minutes a week is important. We are able through the system to give 300 minutes a week, so 60 minutes a day of targeted reading instruction at their level. In a typical public education classroom, you'll have 30 kids, 1 teacher, 6 to 7 levels, and I'm being very conservative there. There's probably more levels than that of reading. And that teacher's trying to get around to all the levels somehow. So how many minutes a day at their level do you think the fast flyers are getting? 5? 10? Right? Because we have to focus on the kids at the lower end. And so that structure is a failure in my opinion, and so that's a big difference about our school. We have a different structure.
And
Next.
Karen,
Yes.
that's 300 minutes per subject.
Sorry, 300 minutes for reading, and then we do it again, 300 minutes for math every week. So, thank you, Cody. So how do we do it? Well, we have to have this thing that's called a coordinated school schedule so that the kids all come, they go to their homeroom, then K through 3 would go to the reading group, for example, 4 through 6, or like I said, whatever the bands would be, will stay in their homeroom doing history, grammar, science, all the other subjects, and then the next group will go to their group class, and then math group for the lowers, math group for the uppers, and then homeroom to homeroom. And in the afternoon, we have another little group, 30 minutes long, 3 days a week, that helps us with language, or for those reading students who need more time in reading, they're doing a double dose of that reading class. The rest are doing language, vocabulary, spelling, things like that. So our schedule is 8 to 3:15 on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and 8 to 2:15 on Wednesday, Thursday, which I know is annoying to parents, and that we don't have an early out Friday for vacations. But the reason why is because you know what it's like to try to make groups for all those kids. We assess them, we put them in their groups, and those darn kids, they don't stay at that level. Some of them zoom ahead, and they're in the wrong place. After a few weeks, their brains wake up, they start learning quickly, they're learning efficiently in our new system. We're giving them nutritious food of this kind of education. They need to be able to move groups. You don't put you in a group and you're stuck there. We also have kids sometimes who get their tonsils out. They're out of school for 2 weeks, and they need to go back a group who's a few lessons behind, because I might have 5 Reading Mastery 3 classes. Some of them might be at lesson 80, lesson 90, lesson 110. And how do we do that? What a nightmare. It's data. Thank goodness we have computers. We take daily data, weekly data, we look at the data every single week on Wednesday and Thursday. Our teachers have from 2:15 to 4:30, 2 hours and 15 minutes of professional learning communities twice a week. And we are planning and demo teaching for each other, helping each other learn how to teach, and we're also looking at student data and changing groups. When people leave school early on Friday, nobody has a brain for that hard work. That is not what teachers' brains are ready to do on a Friday afternoon. And so we do this on Wednesday and Thursday and try to get those new groups started on Friday for those students. So that's our schedule. Next. We talked about the second pillar, so that's the first pillar, academics. We should just go to the very last slide where it has the test scores really quick, since I should put right there. So we're talking about academics, we'll stick with this for just a second. This is kind of a hard thing for you to see, but up on the left side is the percentages. And what are the numbers? Are they 10, 20, 30? I can't see. Can you see one?
Yeah, it goes by tens.
Tens, by tens. And then across the thing, read those are the different groups. So all students are on the left. The blue is the state scores. And the blue is our scores, the yellow is the state scores of percent proficient. And this is broken out by all different demographics of students. So in the very first column, that's all students. And the second one, do you want to read it out loud?
Sure, yeah. Asian, Black, African American, then white, then Hispanic, multi-race, Native American, Native Hawaiian, and then we have gender, male, female, and then we have income, low income, not low income, and then we have English learner, not English learner, regular education, and special education.
So one of our most exciting things, in my opinion, for me, is the most exciting, is last year Stanford did a study on all the charter school achievement, and they identified our school system, American Preparatory Schools, as a gap busting school, meaning our kids are scoring the people who they expect to score in the achievement gap, the low-income kids or our kids who speak another language. They are we're breaking that gap, they're scoring and achieving at levels that is not projected. And that was super exciting to me. And both reading and math, we're the only school in Utah that got that designation with 150 charter schools or something now in Utah. But that's really exciting to us, and our academic program really works well. And so that's just what that slide is. We can go back to the character ed. But like we said, no point in being smart if you're not going to be good too. And so character development is so important at our school, and it's embedded in everything we do. And it's really fun. We have so much fun learning how to be really good people at our school. So our program is called Builders, and it's called Builders because there's this poem called Builders that when I was a kid, my dad used to go out and speak in the community. He was a businessman, but he was a motivational speaker, kind of citizen activist trying to change things. He was able to amend the Constitution of the state of Michigan twice, which has never been done, I don't think, before or since. And he was just a really enthusiastic guy, and he would be asked to speak at different things, and he would recite this poem. And he asked all his kids to memorize poems, and we were rolling our eyes, but because they're corny poems. They're iambic pentameter, they're corny poems. But as I got older, I realized there's a lot of power in this poem and in many of the poems that he would recite, and so I will recite this. You guys gonna recite it with me?
Sure.
Okay. And it's a paradigm of how we think about ourselves and our contribution that we make. And instead of bullying paradigm at our school, we don't use a bullying paradigm, meaning we don't talk about bullying and victims. We talk about humans and how sometimes we're awesome and sometimes we're not, and that's true of everyone. Sometimes, everyone is sometimes awesome, and everyone is sometimes terrible. And so we try to help build this construct where students can become humble in the classical mindset, humble and open to understanding that when they've made a mistake, they are to make amends quickly and quickly admit it and move forward and get a clean slate. So we work really hard with our teachers that when students are corrected or need correction, that we do it non-emotionally, and we get a clean slate the next day. So we look for people who have that ability, teachers who have that maturity, who are not looking for a power opportunity as a teacher, but who are looking for a teaching opportunity as a teacher. And so the clean slate is real, meaning the student has trouble one day, they come back the next day, and it's a clean slate. There's nothing left over. Resentments, we don't believe in that. So here's the poem. Get ready.
Do you want us to?
Come up here with me.
Okay. I'll say it.
You'll say it for me, because you have the resonant voice. You have to say it. Okay. Yeah, builders. I saw them tearing a building down. A gang of men in a busy town. With a yellow hee-ho and a lusty yell, they swung a beam and the sidewall fell. I asked the foreman if these men were as skilled as those he would hire if he were to build. He laughed and said, oh no indeed, common labor is all I need, for they can wreck in a day or two what builders have taken years to do. So I asked myself as I went my way, which of these roles am I to play? Am I the builder who works with care, measuring life by the rule and square? Or am I the wrecker who walks the town, content in the role of tearing down? Stop. But that's where the poem stops, in honor of Mr. Hunter, who really, you guys don't know this yet. That's what the poem ends. And back when we were opening the campus, my brother, sister, and I were sitting around a table, like, I don't want it to end on the negative. And my brother wrestled for like 15 minutes in his mind's like, there's something else we could add. And he added these words, ready? I've made my decision, I'll start today. I'll be a builder in every way. But I haven't told you. But Mr. Hollander suggested that for secondary kids, they need to be left with a question. Am I a builder or am I a wrecker? So for the secondary, we're going to take the lines off, reprint the posters, and have the teachers ask them that question, right? That's what we're going to do. It's exciting. Thank you so much for your help. Anyway, so you can see that the paradigm of building and wrecking is really helpful to kids. It's not helpful to be talked to about bullying and victims because usually things are never one-dimensional. Usually there's more to the story than you are a bully and you are a victim. Now, does that mean we're soft on discipline? No. I have much evidence of this. The phone call I got last summer from the state office saying, your data must be wrong. Something must be wrong with your data. Why? Well, there were only 53 expulsions in the whole state last year, and you had 27 of them. No mistake. No mistake. We are careful about vapes and all sorts of things in our schools. We're careful about our kids. Parents knowing they can send their kids to school, they're not going to see pornography because we don't allow phones. They're not going to have exposure to vapes or other things like that because we don't let kids stay if they can't abide by that standard. So we had 5,000 kids in our system, so I don't want you to think that we have a bunch of terrible kids in EPA. But we had 5,000 kids, and that's a lot, and there's lots of issues right now, and some of those kids come back. In our expulsion system, we know we teach the builder's theme, right? They may need some time to go out and figure out how not to be a wrecker, and they can reapply and come back if they've changed. So that's our character development. We have a monthly award, builder's theme every month. I'm a builder when I work with enthusiasm, for example, or I'm a builder when I show gratitude for it indeed. And when you have those themes, then the teachers watch for a winner of the month, and they become the builder of the month. Then we have an annual Builder of the Year award, which is really wonderful and exciting. It's a surprise. Kids don't know who's going to win until their name is called, and their parents and all their friends are there. It's really great. It's awesome. So Builders is our, basically our character education piece, but also there's something called Ambassadors, where we teach the kids that they are going to be representatives of who? So you have your name tag on, stand up. Awesome. So we wear name tags at our school. All the students wear them, all the staff wears them. The children are taught that they represent themselves first, their first name. They represent their family, that last name. They represent the school, because our logo's on there. And they need to understand that every time they do anything, anytime, they're represented, right?
And most of them, you can talk to them and say, hey, you have love for one or all three of those things. Hopefully by the end of the year, you're gonna have love for all three of those things. Even if it was their parent choice to send them to APA at the beginning of the year, they're super resistant. They get to the point where it's like, oh, no, really, I do. I'm
They like the
just
name
on the
tags.
pride every
Yeah.
day.
And it helps with security. There's lots of reasons why name tags are good. When we have those groups, we have so many kids going so many places. Teachers need to be able to see names. The kids need to see the teacher's name. First graders will have maybe a reading teacher, math teacher, homeroom teacher, music, art, PE, and their instructor. So one thing I failed to tell you is we hire two adults in every classroom. A full-time teacher and a full-time associate teacher, or we call them instructors if they don't have a license or a degree. But that really helps teachers to be able to teach through the curriculum because it's very dense, and to not ever get behind or miss a day, because they've got someone in the classroom who's helping kids with whatever they need, getting a Kleenex, sharpening a pencil, getting, it facilitates everything. They also can help our kids with special needs. And having that second person in the classroom allows us to open that least restrictive environment. Those of you who know about special ed know that word, to all students. Like almost all students can be in a general classroom when you have a second adult. And so that's our model, is to have two adults. And that's who teaches all those little groups of reading. It's because we have extra people in the building to do it. So builders, ambassadors, we represent, and then we teach through experiences. The kids get to do really a lot of fun experiences. They go to care centers, they work with the elderly, they help with the disabled in town when they have the buddy walk. They go on hikes together. We do tons of character building activities and service-oriented activities at the school. So, next slide. Patriotic education is big. You can imagine with American Preparatory Academy that it would be. We have a really awesome Constitution Day celebration every year. We read the Constitution. For those of you who aren't aware, you can read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in about 47 minutes. And we break it into 52 parts, and it's on a website called Constitution Live that we created. And anyone can go on there, and you can print off 52 parts. They'll just cut them apart and give them to your friends. Have a reading of the Constitution at your house. We do it at school. The way we do it at school is we have students who, they audition actually, and a lot of them, they want to do the reading. Students, staff, police, fire, then other people in the community come in, and they each get a part. They sit in chairs like this, numbered chairs. We have a Zoom camera set up, and they come to a podium, and one after another reads their part. And the reason it's a Zoom camera is because all the classrooms, they're showing it in the classrooms. So the kids in the classrooms are reading the Constitution along with the Zoom. But because we have, sorry that is my phone, it's obnoxious. Because we have, I lost my train of thought.
Cameras.
Oh, what?
Zoom.
Yeah, because we have it on Zoom, then the parents can also log in and they can listen. And so in Utah, at least on Constitution Day, we have 6 campuses, so we have a reading from 8 to 8:50, 9 to 9:50, different campus 10 to 10:50. We have 6 all the way through the day. So you can listen to the Constitution all day long on Constitution Day with American Prep. Well, we took this idea, we didn't really, but we have a panel of, a committee of students who entered a contest to make an impact. It's the Impact Challenge by the National Bill of Rights Association. And they shared this idea. Last year we had 23 cities, towns doing their own Constitution reading on Zoom to their citizens and inviting guests to do it. Cities, towns, other community groups, service organizations. So Constitution Day is big to us. We think everybody should read the Constitution at least once a year. And so that's one of our things. Another one is Veterans Day. We have a big Veterans Day event. We invite veterans from the community, and the kids honor them for about an hour, 15 minutes. It's really awesome. And in Memorial Day, we have a commemoration where we invite a Gold Star family, someone who's lost a loved one in service, and our kids do a commemoration for that lost loved one, which is really, really meaningful for our kids and wonderful. So Patriotic education is important to us. We live close enough, most of our schools are close enough to the state capitol that we can take them up on legislative trips, and we do that and help the kids learn how to engage, sit in committee meetings, follow bills, interact with their legislators. Yes?
So to that point, right, those are the only holidays that we actually celebrate formally. So
That's true.
education time is precious. And so to take time out for Veterans Day, Memorial Day, trips to the Capitol, but we don't, there's not a Halloween party. There's not a,
Right, we don't do that.
those things aren't part of our school.
Yeah, we feel like the community can create a lot of fun things around Halloween or whatever they want to do, but it doesn't really lend itself to school. It makes teachers crazy to put kids in costumes at school. And really they beg me, please don't make us do that. So we don't. We have other fun things like, so when we're studying a subject in history, while they're studying Greece in second grade, they can dress up like that, and they're doing the, what?
The Roman feast.
The Roman feast. They do the medieval festival in fourth grade. They dress up medieval. It's really fun. We had times where they had very expressive and fun things, but it's connected to curriculum, not Halloween or whatever. So, next slide. We have earned a lot of awards, and it's always like feels great for our staff, especially to receive awards and things that honor their hard work, because this is hard work. What we do is very intense, and we love it. It's a lot of work. But I think the one I like the best lately is the top workplaces. We've earned that for 2 years now. And what that means is that our staff members take an anonymous survey, and we get enough points that we're a good enough employer that we make this list in Utah. And that's really important to me, because if the teachers are happy, the kids can be happy. I feel that's really true. If teachers are dissatisfied and angry, the students are going to feel it and know it. And so to us, being a top workplace is probably one of the most important awards. And then the best, one of the best high schools in 2021 and 20, we were number 1 in the state for college prep at our Draper campus, and that was awesome too. Is that it? Am I done? Oh yeah? Okay, and then this is just the closing slide. We can have Q&A here. We've had a letter of support from the town of Alpine and the Alpine Education Committee, and we still need letters of support from citizens of Alpine for the application. When you submit to the state, they want you to turn in the letters of support that you have in the community. And so we're seeking those, and you can express that support through that QR code. And I need to add to that survey, like. Yeah, it's on the flyer. Oh, I thank you for mentioning flyers. So if you could help us distribute some of these, take some of these with you. The front is the flyer, is the QR code for the next information meeting, which will be on Zoom. So I'll be doing this from Utah on Zoom next Tuesday night, and every Tuesday night thereafter until the end of the application period. And on the back is the QR code to express support. But like, I need to add a sentence for them to please write why they would like to support the school. There's just an open question. We don't have that on there yet. All right. Yes, questions?
Does it need to be, like if we don't live in Alpine, but Fane?
No, yes, no, anywhere, community, sorry. It's not just citizens of Alpine, and I'll change that slide. We can make that note to David too. Yeah, it's really anybody in the community.
So, first of all, guys, this is a big deal for Alpine. I just want to say thank you, Caroline, for coming and being a part of this, helping us out. So you can answer questions, but guys, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, we need support. We need people to show up to these events. If we want this school to happen, it's a big deal. So like, I know we're on Zoom, so you guys on Zoom, please show your support, write letters, do the survey. I mean, all of us have been working hard, like Kelly, and I mean, there's a bunch of people here that have put a lot of effort in. These guys go from Salt Lake, they're gonna go home tonight, they're gonna do another session in 20, 30 minutes. And it's a big deal for this town. So we need you guys all to go out and just say, hey, wish you guys should have come. Maybe we didn't advertise it right. If you have any ideas for advertising, let us know. But I mean, this is huge for people that grew up and live here and raise your kids here. I mean, this is something that we can have. It's realistically could be open. I mean, gonna be tough to be open by next year, but, I mean, we could be open in a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, it's a real deal, maybe even next fall. So, please,
What were the grade levels? I came in a little late.
K through 8.
just to start, so we're hoping,
Yeah.
hoping it
Cody
goes
and
well.
Cindy, Craig, just sit down in the chair. Come on. I'm just gonna have them stand up here in case there's
Please.
questions for teachers or other people, so that they don't think it's just me. Yes, ma'am.
What's like the rough or like number of kids to make it a reality? Like, do you have a sense of that?
To make it a reality, I think we were looking at, do you guys remember the
I
number?
think we're trying to get 100 to start. And then we think it's gonna be,
We think it'll be more
400
than
pretty
that,
quick.
though. We're trying to do, so if we do one class per grade, K through 8, that's about 290 students. So, and that's full, I'm talking 30 kids in every class. So if you have 20 kids in every class, that's like 180, right? Is that right? Yeah. And so that's still more than his 100 that he talked about. But we have a feeling that we're gonna not have a problem getting that many kids come to a school here. Like, maybe the feeling isn't scientific enough. But from what I'm hearing, yes.
I have 2 questions, actually. Could you expand upon what you have as special education? Because you talked about maybe not classifying children. So what constitutes as special education and how do they receive their services?
We totally classify students, we totally evaluate them, we're fully aligned with it. But what I'm saying is if the parent doesn't want their kid identified and labeled, then, well, first of all, they can have an IEP at my school and nobody really will know because they're usually mainstreamed anyway because they're in the skills groups, right? So we like the best case is they have an IEP, so they're getting the services they need. And they have our eyeballs on them, but the student doesn't know it. That's our ideal. But if we have parents who don't want their child labeled or put in special ed, they're still gonna get a lot of services because of the way we run our program.
So like speech, OT?
Yeah, all that's the
therapy.
same, yeah, perfectly aligned with IDA and, yeah.
I'm concerned about that for our area because it is so small. I guess my question is kind of like where those services will come from for our school, especially because for teachers, in our school district, we span from Alpine actually all the way to Kirkville. We have less than 5 teachers that actually live in Alpine. I'm just wondering if we've had those conversations about, and it's the most expensive area in the valley.
Yeah, we've had all those conversations.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So one more thing that Kelly just brought up, so this is not a border, you don't have to live in Alpine to come to the school, so you can live in Afton, Dane, Etna. So we're not just, I mean, if you're a commuter going to Jackson, you can drop your kids on the way, pick them up on the way home. So this is not just Alpine kids, it will be an Alpine-based school, but it will be not limited to, I mean, supposedly Idaho kids can come if they pay the tuition and figure out how to do that, I guess, but, so.
Right, and the tuition, so it's being a charter school, it's subsidized.
It's a public school. This is free education, just like you go to the school in Afton or the school in Dane and Etna. This is your same tax dollars. She gets paid the same way per student, ADM money, and this is run off ADM money.
And I'm assuming Wyoming is just like Utah in that you have to follow, you have a state board of education and follow all the rules, all the reporting requirements are the same for charter schools as your traditional neighborhood school. So I know sometimes you have questions about that.
Can you elaborate like on the traditional neighborhood school and what is a charter school? Like the difference? So they know. Okay. But very
Yes.
hard to get in Wyoming, right? There's like
Yes,
1 or 2.
I think there's 7, is there 7 charter schools?
I mean, most of them are, there's none on this side of the state.
No.
There's one in Jackson, there's one in Florida.
No?
Is there only, I've heard of 3, and then someone told me last week that there's 3 in the last so many years, but there's more. I don't know, it's less than 10.
I think there's 1 in Riverton, 2 in Casper, and 2 in Slate.
Okay, 5.
5.
Yeah, okay, that could be, yeah. So the difference is really, on the compliance side, we're 100% accountable. They say that, charter schools have more flexibility, and I still challenge people to tell me where that flexibility is. Meaning, they'll say, well, your kids wear uniforms, the public school kids don't. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not like flexibility. They could wear uniforms if they want. Your public schools can pass a policy and they can wear uniforms. We don't really have any extra special exemptions that I know of at our schools. We're public schools. The difference, I think, is that our board, the board, will be a local board. It won't be your public school board that's elected. It'll be a local board.
I think one of the biggest expectations, or one of the biggest differences, is expectation. That we have a higher bar that we want to be able to put our kids towards and put them on a steeper trajectory. And so we can't pick and choose which students we want, but we feel like kids are being undervalued, under-taught, right? And so we're trying to give them a more rigorous program to put them on a better trajectory.
Here and then back.
How is the board selected? It's just a community election, or is it?
No, I think this will be an appointed board.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not me,
basically,
this is-
basically we're starting with the founders board.
That's
And that's just a bunch of us that are just volunteering to help get this going. And then at that point in time, some other founder board will continue on. It will be, this founder board will appoint, and we still work out the details of that exactly.
Probably in the charter, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So we could choose to have an election or something, however, our board wants to set this up to elect members.
I mean, I think we have a little bit of control of how we structure it, is for sure. I'm not sure exactly how.
I don't work with any boards that are elected. It's just the way it works. All the boards I work with are, because so this is a company, American Preparatory Schools, and then we work for some nonprofit boards and run their schools for them. Does that make sense? And then they take our name and use the curriculum, and they have license to everything. I, in the past, have not chosen to work with elected boards because it makes it really, really hard for us. We've not found it to be successful, to be honest. Because a parent comes on board and they say, I don't like those groups. Mike, I don't think that's a good idea. We need to get rid of the groups. Well, this isn't a democracy, like, at that point. This is because there's other kids whose parents love the groups. So how does that work in the school? That some parents have a bigger voice than others. So we find it much cleaner after 21 years of doing this, and doing it in Nevada, doing it here, in West Virginia, doing consulting, Michigan. People need to make a choice for their kids. And if they want to come to the school, they should come to the school. But they should not feel like they can make a choice for you, or your neighbor gets to make the choice for you, of what that school's going to be. You should have some guarantees as to what your child's going to get that kind of learning, and guarantee it. And I can't guarantee it if there's people trying to change it every year. And that's what we've learned in the 90s and the early 2000s in charter schools. Is maybe have you guys ever heard of like charter school horror stories? Maybe not in Wyoming, but in Arizona and Utah, places where we have 100 more, hundreds in Arizona, it came known really quick that it can become a real mess. And so I was like, ooh, I was in 2 schools like that, because I didn't know about that in the first 2 schools I was associated with, and so we were in that kind of a thing. But anyway, the board is the board. They will decide what they want to do, and our contract is always, I'm not in a contract right now. I'm just doing this because I think it's a great place up here, and we would love to serve this community. I'm getting closer to retirement. I probably shouldn't do another school, but you guys have a compelling need for a school, and we have a great school, so to me, I would love to help out. But the truth is, the board's gonna have to make that decision later if they hire me. Right now, we are just helping write the application. That's it. We don't have a contract or anything like that.
And speaking on that, we truly do what's best for kids. I mean, just grandkids, kids that you could spend time enjoying and retire and things that you talk about. But we do what's best for kids, and we enjoy it. That's why we're here.
Yes. Yes, homework every day. And it's fun because the kids are very self-managed. So the way our mindset is, I'm actually a psych nurse. My background is psychiatric nursing. And Mr. Hollander has a background in psychology, he teaches our AP psychology courses and philosophy. We build our whole school around motivation theory. Like, how do kids stay motivated? How do we all stay motivated? Well, you have to have a certain level of challenge, and you have to have a certain level of success. And what we know about homework is, if it's the right kind of homework, if homework is properly done, where it's just a practice and the kid is totally self-managed, you're not there doing the homework, helping them or teaching them something that they didn't learn. No, homework is there as the students. And they take it home at night and they have their learning plan. Are there any more slides at the end of that slideshow? Blake, did he put some in? I asked him to put, here's the beautiful blue docket. Everybody carries one of these home, every student, even your kindergartners. They'll carry it home every night and back every morning, and to every class, it's a blue plastic portfolio. And in there are all these colored folders that we provide this whole thing. We provide all school supplies, by the way, we don't have kids bring stuff. And their work always goes in this. And so, by always having their work and knowing their plan, on the top of there, that's a plan. You can't tell, but on the left side are all the subjects across the top of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If they have homework, it's circled yes, it's very clear. They can't leave school without that. It would never happen. Like, every day the kids go home, they know their plan. If they have some work to do, they almost always started it at work, at home, at school, and they're just finishing something. And it's really cool because the kids learn to initiate and sustain work on their own because they can be successful at it. It's very motivating. And so we do homework every day, but it's very little. So like, first grade's 10 minutes, second grade is 20 minutes, third grade is about 30 minutes with including reading time. It's not a lot until you get older, and if you don't do it at school.
That's what I was just gonna say. It does depend on how students utilize their time, and they learn to utilize that class time well. Another different thing to kind of go along with that, we do have textbooks. I actually didn't know some schools don't have textbooks and they do a lot online, but we have actual physical textbooks. And then the learning plan is a great communication tool between the school and the parent. So every night the parent signs that learning plan and it goes back to the teacher in the morning and they look at it. So it's a quick way to get communication back and forth. You're going to know how your student's day was because there's a place for their behavior on there as well. You're going to know if they had homework or not because it should be circled on there whether they completed or whether they have homework or no homework. And the folders are great too because sometimes Johnny gets home and it's like, oh, I have my history test tomorrow, but I left my packet in my desk. Oh no, it's in your history folder inside your docket. So we just say no loose papers and everything is inside that docket.
Okay, so you're a famous teacher.
I just want to say the instructional staff at our school is amazing. Like, your kids will come home and they will truly love going to school. And a huge part of that is because of the teachers that we hire. We make sure we hire very smart, intelligent, fun-loving people. And we would never put anybody in front of those students that don't meet that very high standard. As an administrator for many, many years, it was my job to make sure that we hire people that I definitely wanted my child to be in front of. And that was kind of one of the questions I would think of in the interview process is, do I want my child in front of this person? And if the answer was overwhelmingly yes, then there was a good chance if they met all the other criteria that we would hire them. So that's just one thing I really want to emphasize is the teaching staff. Parents absolutely love the teacher and all the other staff members that go along with teaching, but I can't say enough about how amazing our teachers are. Once you see them in action and you see them teaching as you saw on that video, you cannot help but have that burst of joy.
How do we teach them to do that though?
How do we teach them to do that?
Yeah, because that's a question, right? Like, how do you find teachers who want to do that?
Well, we want to make sure that, we go through many, many hours of training. And not only just a one-time thing. Our veteran teachers are constantly improving year after year to really hone in and be amazing at their craft. Knowing their curriculum so well.
And coaching, tell me
And
about your
then there's coaching that goes along. So we have people that go into the classrooms, actively standing next to the teacher and helping the teacher know, first of all, what they're doing great, but also what they need to improve on in that very moment. And our students, they are just fine with having another adult actually feel good about it because they're getting corrected all day long. And so it's nice to have another adult correcting another adult and seeing them get the ability to practice humility and learning to be a better person for your children. So we have professional coaches that come in and help them. Maybe the instruction is going too fast, and maybe it needs to slow down a little bit. Or just the opposite, you need to speed it up because you can see, or you need to see as a teacher, that you're losing their interest. So having eye contact, using inflection in your voice, the pacing, the questions that you're asking, okay? All of those things, we have a whole rubric of what our coaches look at to make sure that they are meeting the very high standards for being in the classroom. And so there's summer training, there's professional development going on throughout the whole year, and then we do it all over again, and year after year after year, and our teachers are just getting so good. So I want you to know that the teaching is really kind of the secret sauce that makes kids love APA so much because we hire the very best teachers.
Over to me.
How has your schools been received in Utah by the local school districts? I'm guessing there's some resistance because
It's been 20
in our
years,
district,
so-
they're losing $17K per student per year.
So we don't get paid that much in Utah, not up close, we're about 10,000 per student. And it's been 20 years, so people are used to it. Like, I don't know what else to say, right? We don't hear anything nasty from our district. I mean, there's still opposition, but we don't hear, in the first few years, I was getting a lot of opposition, but no.
And there's a lot of schools